Hey everyone, it's Enderverse. In this video, we'll be looking at 22 low-end shaders that look wonderful and have unbelievable performance. As usual, all the links will be in the description if you want to check any. Now, let's dive into the video. First shader we got is Dr. Distance shader. As you can notice, this is more of a vanilla-ish shader, but with a realistic water and beautiful GAD rays. The performance in this shader was supreme, but you can see that the shader was a bit bright. Still, this very problem can turn into a perk when going to the nether, since things like lava, flames, and even blazes will be glowing, making this dimension ever more beautiful. And was also covered with this shader, although I think the effects here were kind of limited, but it's for the greater good. Silder's Enhanced Default is a fabulous vanilla shader and will give you amazing FPS. I like how the shaders added waves to things like water and leaves, all the while keeping the Minecraft vanilla feel. The nether, however, feels the exact same as vanilla. Same could be said about the end, but hey, the performance is wonderful and our RAM usage never been this lower, so let's appreciate that. Another Silder's shaders, this time with even lower custom performance, is Silder's Basic shaders. This one had very little impact on the overall graphics, but added few amazing features like cell shading, as well as this fascinating depth of fields. When we entered the nether, we also noticed that it remained kinda the same as vanilla, and as usual, the end was neglected, but you got superior frame rate, so who cares? Last Silder's shaders on the list is Silder's Vibrant Light shader. This is the most beautiful of the three, and funny enough, the performance here was not bad at all. Just few FPS less, but a higher RAM allocation, so pay attention to that. When we traveled to the nether, however, things were looking flamboyant. The annoying vanilla fog was removed, allowing us to see further, and a new layer of lighting was added to beautify the hot nature of the nether. The end was also covered and was made dim and dark, which is a perfect representation of this dimension. This shader will work as a middle ground between the two, not very demanding, but also not ugly. Builder's Quality of Life is an amazing shader to get even higher frame rate. The water here is tropical and amazing, and I very much enjoyed the rain weather fog. One thing you guys will love is after the weather is cleared, you will notice a colorful rainbow in the distance. On the nether, however, I noticed some improvements on the lava, as well as some lighting tweaks. The FPS here were also skyrocketing. On the end, however, I was surprised to see that before you even enter the end dimension, you will be able to see it through a portal. A crazy feature that no other shader possesses. Once you get in, however, you will be baffled by the beauty of this amazing aurora sky. This is honestly the shader with the best end dimension so far. Chuka Peak Toaster Edition was a shader that I used to play when I had, well, a toaster. Although some shaders on the list outnumbers it when it comes to performance, I feel like this will be the most playable for you guys. I love the sunlight and how it scatters between blocks. I also enjoyed the nighttime with this shader, but once we enter the nether, Chuka Peak Toaster Edition starts to flex its muscles. The lighting and effects here are gorgeous, and we've had well over the 500 FPS. In the end dimension, however, things were looking normal. Of course, there were some obvious light enhancements, but not unlike the nether, and the FPS were also lower. If you have some FPS to spare, then I suggest going for Chuka Peak 13 Medium. This is one of the most stunning shaders I've ever seen, and we still got over 300 FPS. The water is otherworldly, and the sunset is very pleasing to the eye. However, our RAM usage went as high as 7 GB, so you may want to keep an eye for that. When we traveled to the nether, however, I realized it was not covered. Same goes to the end, but you can still use that shader for screenshots since that's the point of shaders after all. Next up is Complementary Reimagined. I know this shader isn't originally a low-end shader, but check this out. With the potato preset, we managed to pull as high as 300 FPS, and to top it off, the graphics remained relatively the same. Our RAM usage were also somewhat stable, and once you travel to the nether, you will see some of the most beautiful visuals. with all the glowing blocks and even mobs. The fog also made this dimension obscure and charming, and in spite of it all, we were still getting over the 400 FPS. Crazy, right? Wait until you see the end. This place becomes whimsy and fantastic when using this shader. Although our FPS took a bit of a toll, but we still have over 300 FPS. Just try this shader, you won't regret it, believe me. POF is a shader with a singular feature, which is the addition of depth of fields. As small as it might seem, this feature can catapult your screenshots, as it allows you to focus on one object or one map while blurring the background. I love how you can focus on places that are very far away from you. The FPS here were also quite good, and our RAM usage didn't exceed 3GB. Depth of field also works just fine on the Nether, but on the end we noticed some random blurring. Miniature shader is very subtle and will only make the water reflective, as well as adding few dynamic shadows. I also love the fog with this shader, and the amount of FPS we've reached using the miniature shader was an astounding 500 FPS. Crazy. When going to the Nether though, you'll notice that it's pretty much the same, since the Nether have no water or sun, which are the main components of this shader. Same goes to the end. So we can conclude that this is a shader you should only use on vanilla Minecraft, and can work as a good graphical boost. Makeup Ultra Fast is one of the most beautiful shaders on the list, and it is highly configurable. You can tweak it so that it has zero effects, which still look good, but I prefer the medium preset. This preset will work as a middle ground. It will add a fair amount of effects with a good frame rate on the sides. The Nether wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was improved nonetheless. However, it was one of a kind. The atmosphere here was magical and mysterious. Also, the FPS on this shader with the medium preset ranges from 400 up to 500 FPS, so it's a solid choice for pretty much everyone. Muskrose is an amazing shader. It offers beautiful water reflections and amazing dynamic shadows. When it's nighttime, this shader really shows its full potential. I love the custom skies and the lighting. The Nether dimension was also covered with this shader. You can see that it had some noticeable improvements over the vanilla Nether. But when we traveled to the end, well, things weren't looking good. The FPS here were incredible, but I can't guarantee that it would work as good on every device. Next up, we have Opal Shader. This one will need some tweaking to maximize FPS, and the best option to disable is anti-aliasing. This stuff can drain your FPS pretty good. After we are done tweaking, you will see that we still got an amazing graphics nonetheless. The FPS were not that impressive though, but our RAM usage was very low. My favorite part about Opal Shader is the water and how it reflects the sky beautifully. Also, the night visuals on this shader are very aesthetic and soothing. The Nether, however, was a massive surprise for me. The lighting here was the best we've seen so far, and in spite of that, we still had over 400 FPS. Honestly, that's unbelievable. The end, however, was a bit too dark, and our FPS were not that good. But all in all, this is a great option for almost every player out there. Photon Shader will also require some tweaking to work best. And of course, the best option to disable is TEA and FXEA. We don't want any type of anti-aliasing. Right from the start, we could see some weird noises on the blocks from the lack of anti-aliasing. But forget about that. Check out this gorgeous sunrise. The clouds are fantastic, and the underwater is also not bad. When it's nighttime, the noisy textures get worse, so if that's a problem for you, I would recommend enabling FXEA, but not TEA. Doing so, you'll get good frame rate, and you'll get rid of the annoying noises of the blocks as well. Before we go to the Nether, check out this amazing Nether portal. And the Nether itself was equally impressive, with all the glowing blocks and flames. Not to mention, our FPS were skyrocketing. But as usual, the end was looking weird. I can literally see the sun outside of the end. But this shader is a work in progress project, so expect the end to be implemented very soon. And again, we have to disable all kinds of anti-aliasing with the Chi shader. Right from the start, you'll notice that the shader isn't very different from vanilla, and rightfully so. If we switch it off and on, we'll notice that it only enhances the luminance and adds convenient fog. Same goes to the nether. And the end as well. This is more of an MCPE looking shader that yields great performance but not great visuals. Simplicissimus is another vanilla-ish shader. The fog here is honestly fascinating, and I love how the blocks subtly fade in the distance. The sunset is also beautiful, and you can enable still shading as well as depth of fields, which make the visuals even better. The nether, however, was pretty much the same as vanilla, with the addition of distant fog, and the end was better and not overly modified. This shader, despite having lower FPS than some other shaders on this list, it still has very good memory usage. Super Duper Vanilla shader is the best in terms of graphics to FPS ratio. Just look at those reflections on the ice, and the beautiful purple change on the blocks. And the sky is just so pleasing to observe. Let's check out the nether. Oh my goodness. This is perhaps the best nether on this entire list. Look at those beautiful lighting, and how every block or flame emits different types of blooming. The effects are also fascinating, but as a result, the FPS on the nether were considerably lower than the overall. But let's not get judgmental, and let's check out the end. And would you look at that? The sky has a freaking black hole, and its lights reflect beautifully on the obsidian tower. Our FPS are also stable and high. This is an overall amazing shader, and I recommend you give it a try for yourself and see if it works well for you. But bear in mind, if you have less than 6 GB of RAM, it probably won't even launch. Yo FPS is a very simplistic shader. The FPS we've got using this shader exceeded 700 FPS. Very majestic, and when you go down the caves, you'll notice an amazing lighting visuals. The nether is also very unique, and I love the bloom effect each block carries. But the end was cursed for some reason. I'd recommend this shader for anyone who wants to improve their graphics slightly without any custom performance. Acid shader is more of a meme than a shader. It causes the world around it to skew and jump around. I have to warn you though, this can cause serious headaches when observed for longer periods of time. When we went to the nether, things were even crazier, and same goes to the end. The shader had no actual lighting or shadows enhancement. Consequently, it had quite the same FPS as vanilla, so it's a shader for every single device out there. As long as you can run Minecraft, you'll be able to run Acid shader. Hopefully. Solaz is another shader on the list that can provide amazing FPS when set to the low preset. I love the water here so damn much. A good feature to test out is going to a snowy biome during nighttime and observe this beautiful aurora effect. Also, before we head to the nether guys, check out the blooming of this portal. Wonderful, right? Well, wait until you see the nether itself. It is equally bright and beautiful. Almost every block here is colorful and nice, and I especially love those glowing mushrooms. But the end is a completely different story. The floor is reflective, and the sky has this beautiful purple tint. And not to forget, of course, the black hole sitting there. It's the same as Super Duper Vanilla shader, if you remember it. This shader would be a significant jump from the vanilla Minecraft, and the frame rate is relatively stable and high. Epoch is a new artistic shader. It offered an arsenal of unique and special presets to choose from. The default preset is this one, and the visuals compared to the FPS are wonderful. I like how the brightness shifts when you look at the sun. It's more like a real-life camera. However, the nether is a bit glitchy, and the end is downright horrible. But this shader will be perfect for you guys who are obsessed with Minecraft photography, like me. And it's very optimized since it doesn't alter the Minecraft's graphics that much. Vector is another unique shader. It gives Minecraft this classic green lines graphics, and not gonna lie, it's kinda enjoyable to play. I mean, look at my skin. Let's check the nether. Oh, look at that. Man, I like this type of graphics, I have no idea why. Alright, let's see how the Ender Dragon looks. Oh my god, look at that. The Vector shader is a solid download, since not only are you going to experience a completely different style inside of Minecraft, but you'll also be able to do so smoothly, since this shader has little to no effect on frame rate. Final shader on the list is Vanilla Plus. Right from the start, you'll notice how it looks so much like Vanilla, but with a fascinating sunbeam. The unique about it is how it offers different presets based on different shaders. I would recommend choosing the default preset. Vanilla Plus shaders offered a simple yet sharp graphics. Despite the water looking plain and blue, you can feel the massive influence it had on the overall visuals. And the Nether is also very flashy, and the performance here was even better than the overall performance. I also love the atmosphere in the end, and it has these amazing purplish lights all around the place. However, we can notice that our RAM usage went as high as 7 GB, but it's still a solid choice for a number of people. If you want low-end texture packs, however, here's a video for it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. See ya in the next one.